How dare they disrespect him? I was all fired up. And then we find out on Saturday he's fighting again on September 27th. Let's talk to Bo Nickal, who is the star of his very own show, the Bo Nickal Contender Series. Here he is joining us via the magic of Zoom. Hello, Bo. How are you?
I'm doing awesome, Ariel. How's it going?
I'm doing great. Thank you for joining us. Look at you. You're in Happy Valley right now, right? I see the Penn State.
Oh yeah, I'm in the wrestling room right now. So I'm was just mid workout, but obviously had to make time for my man Ariel.
Yes, my good friend. We're boys. I appreciate it, Bo. Could you describe what the last week has been like for you since your fight last Tuesday?
Oh, it's been pretty good. I flew home and just hung out with some family and stuff, and obviously had a lot of people reaching out and whatnot. But it's been cool. It's been good, and I mean, flying again here soon, so straight back into training.
You've been on big stages. You have fought the creme de la creme. You're no stranger to high stakes competition. But considering this, a lot of people watching, Dana's there, the brass is there, a lot of buzz surrounding your first fight under the banner and all that. What did it feel like in the locker room in the days before this fight last week in Las Vegas?
Oh, you can definitely tell, it's a big fight, a lot of buzz and whatnot. But like you said, I've been there before. I've done this a million times. So, definitely the opportunity was on my mind. Obviously, getting to perform under those lights and that stage is a big opportunity. But for me, I know at the end of the day, the bigger the opportunity, the better I'm going to compete. So there was a lot of hectic stuff going on before the fight. I missed my flight from Pennsylvania so I had to stay the night in New York. And then there was like all kinds of crazy stuff with trying to get like EKGs and whatnot. I had to do post weigh-ins. So like, it was just wild, but I just because I've had COVID before, so they make you do an EKG, but they'd scheduled it after my weigh-in. So doing all that, but I'm a professional. So whatever comes my way, I'll handle it accordingly.
You were in New York. I thought we were friends. You could have stopped by the studio. We could have hung out.
I know I would have. It was like really crazy. So I was supposed to catch a connecting flight in Newark, and my flight got canceled in Newark. So we were trying to figure out what to do, and they flew me out of JFK like 6 a.m. the next morning. So I was just like running around trying to get my weight down, trying to get a workout in, and then I flew out like super early. And I checked the bag too, so I was like trying to get my bag. I had like all my stuff in it, so it was wild. But yeah, we handled it.
All right, and I mean, let's shoot straight here. I mean, you weren't surprised by any of this, right? I mean, you have a deal with the UFC, right?
I was 1-0. I'm 2-0 now, so I don't really care so much about getting the contract. It wasn't really like a big concern for me. After that fight, I expected to fight again on Contenders. So here we are, got an opponent, got to fight on Contenders again, and I'm going to smash this dude and then be a UFC fighter.
Anything about that fight surprise you, or are you expecting to roll through your opponent relatively quickly?
It's kind of funny. I kind of expected literally exactly how it happened. I thought he was going to try to like jump and do like a switch kick or something weird and, get off his base, have his feet close together. I was going to double leg him and then either ground and pound him or submit him. So it pretty much went exactly as I expected it to. Very little resistance, but yeah, that, a little disappointing, but also it just, gives me a little confidence knowing where I'm at.
61 seconds. How could anything about that be disappointing?
I guess when I look at my performances, like, it's almost, that was like such a given, such an expectation from myself that it's like, you do it. I train hard for 6 weeks. I put so much attention into my camp and my training. And then it just happens like that. It's like almost a little bit of a letdown because it's not like exciting, it's not like, it wasn't like that crazy to me. It was just what I expected, business as usual. So yeah, I mean, that's the disappointing part, but the good part is obviously came out of there unscathed, didn't take any damage, and I get to fight again right away.
I mentioned on the night that I couldn't believe that every promotion under the sun didn't try to, snag you before you got to Contenders, right? Back in the day, we've seen deals with like Aaron Pico before he ever even had an amateur fight or anything like that. In your mind, was this all your decision in the sense that like you just wanted to go to the UFC, so you didn't want to listen to anything else? Or did people try to come after you before, after that debut, that incredible win? icon before you jump over to Contender Series?
Yeah, people have been wanting to sign me, since I announced that I was going into MMA. And, after I had a couple amateur fights, more organizations were reaching out, and I had serious talks with a few, but it's always been in my heart that, I need to compete in the UFC. And, that's obviously, if you want to be the pound for pound number one fighter in the world, that's where you need to compete. So for me, it was almost formalities. I had to have the conversations with other organizations, but I knew where I wanted to go. I knew where my heart was.
So you at least listened to them?
Yeah, we talked. Yeah,
Okay.
I felt like it would have been dumb for me to not, at least
I agree.
engage in conversation. So
right.
We had conversations and stuff, and they were throwing big numbers out there, a lot of these promotions, but I don't fight for the money. Like, at the end of the day, if I wanted to make money, I would have been a finance major in college, and I would probably be running a Fortune 500 company or something. So, I'm fighting because I love it, because this is what I'm passionate about. And that's it.
But there is some, element of wanting to make money, right? Like, it is prize fighting at the end of the day.
Oh, of course. I mean, like, I definitely want to, make money, but I leave that to my management, First Round and Malky, and, they take care of that end. And, for me, I'm aware of my value. I know what I bring to an organization, what I bring to a company, and I'll be paid accordingly. I know that, and I'm confident in my team. So that's just something I don't worry about. The money is really secondary to, the other things that I mentioned. And, but yeah, I'm going to be getting paid for sure.
So can I tell you my issue with the whole thing last week? My issue wasn't that you're coming back for another fight. I actually think it makes sense. It's good for the brand. You're fighting on a Tuesday in, late September. There's not much else going on, whatever. I didn't like the way they positioned the whole thing. Why couldn't they have come out, as I said on the show last week, and been like, this guy's once in a lifetime. We've never seen a talent like this before. This is the greatest talent to ever come through these doors at the Apex Contender Series, and I love him so much. Of course he's a UFC fight. Of course we're going to sign. I love him so much. He's coming back for one more because we're going to end this season off with a bang. Instead, we got the whole charade of like, maybe he should get one more fight and, slow your roll. And why are we doing this? I felt like we were demoting you rather than promoting you. Do you understand what I'm saying? That was my issue with it all.
Oh yeah, I understand. And I mean, I agree with you. I think at the end of the day, I take care of what I need to take care of. I take care of putting on a show and performing to the best of my capabilities. I didn't know how they were going to handle it. That wasn't really like discussed with me at all prior. But yeah, I mean, I knew I wanted another Contender Series fight. And so I'm not really worried about all that as far as like promoting me. Like, I think my performance speaks for itself. And it's kind of funny to hear some of these, big wig veteran guys like talk about me and stuff. And I'm like, yo, what are we chatting about here? Like, I guess if you have to say stuff about me, like, and you have to go negative with it, that's fine. But I don't get it either. So it is what it is.
Who are we talking about? Rockhold, Bisping? Who are we talking about?
Well, yeah, of course. Rockhold, Bisping, Anthony Smith, these dudes all chatting about me. I'm like, yo, I'm a 26-year-old 2-0 pro, and you guys are veterans of the sport. One of you's retired. If you want to chat about me and tell me to slow my roll, like, I just don't really know if you're in the place to do that. So is what it is. But I mean, at the end of the day, I think I didn't really read the whole quote or listen to every single thing that those guys had to say. So I'm not going to sit here and dissect it. But I think the media kind of maybe portrayed it a little worse than what it actually was. Like, I'm sure those guys aren't really super hating on me, but
no, I don't
from the headlines, it would seem like it. So, but I don't really take it personal, but it's all good publicity.
Did you watch the broadcast afterwards?
I didn't really listen. No, I didn't watch. I didn't listen to it.
You didn't go back and watch your fight?
I watched the fight, but I didn't.
You didn't listen to
like
the stuff afterwards?
Commentary, really. No, I didn't listen to any of it.
Okay, that was the part. I mean, the other guys that were just saying, and I actually think Bisping's words were kind of taken out of context a little bit and made to be worse. I just wish they would have been more transparent about the whole thing. Like, we know you're not going anywhere. I see people saying, hey, Scott Coker should call up Bo Nickal right now. And come on, man. UFC ain't putting you on this platform to let someone else come on, what are we talking about here?
Yeah. I think you're pretty spot on with that assessment. But yeah, I mean, all good.
Hey, they promoted you big time. I will say this on the Saturday broadcast. Did you see that? I mean, they don't usually make a big deal out of contender series fights like that. So I'll give them that.
Yeah. Yeah. I was like, obviously, again, not expecting that. So I was watching the fights and stuff. I was with my family, and they just, DC said something and they put me up there, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like, that's really, really kind of crazy to see them do that. But yeah, I feel really confident with the UFC, and I think they're, behind me. They're going to push me. They're going to, help me in the ways that they can. And at the end of the day, I'll take care of my end, and I'll put on amazing performances and smash guys. So I think it's a good partnership, long-term one.
That's got to be surreal. You're just sitting there on your couch watching, and all of a sudden DC and these guys are talking about you. Like, you had no idea that was popping up?
No idea about any of it. And just popped up. They chat about me, and I was with my in-laws, and they aren't like, I wouldn't say they're like super fight fans. They're like, they know I fight. Obviously they understand like what's going on, but they were just like, what the heck? And I'm like, yeah, I guess I'm big time now.
Yeah.
Nah, I'm playing.
Get
But
used
yeah,
to
it was
it.
just funny. Yeah,
Get used
right.
to it,
I
in-laws.
guess.
Things are about to change around here. Now this opponent that you're fighting 7-1. Is this a legit 7-1? Or are we going to be like a minus 5,000 in this fight?
Well, just because he's a legit 7-1 doesn't mean I'm not going to be a minus 5,000. Like, come on. Let's get real here. I feel like I'll be minus. Like, let me ask you a question. You put me against a top 10 guy in the UFC right now. What are the odds?
Yeah. I mean, okay. Let's see who's. I just want to see who's exactly top 10. With all due respect, at middleweight in the UFC. So number 10 is Andre Muniz. Number 9 is Darren Till. I mean, could you imagine Bo Nickal, Darren Till? Fight lasts what, 65 seconds? With all due respect, Darren, I mean, come on. Maybe not even.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, what am I opening in that fight? So, I mean, that's just the facts.
There is I mean, like, you look at the guys in the bottom half of the top 10. Gaslam, Uriah Hall just retired. There's Brad Tavares is getting up there in age. Do you feel right now you go into the UFC and you could beat the guys in the top 10?
Yeah, I feel that for sure. I mean, I think that a lot of people, the number one critique I hear is, oh, he doesn't fought anybody, this and that. Like, cool. Like, I'm 2-0. I've trained for 1 year, and I know what I can do. I know the guys that I get to work with at American Top Team are absolutely world class. And, I feel confident in my abilities, and there's never been a collegiate wrestler with accolades that I have transition into the UFC at my age, with my upside. So that being said, I don't really see like anybody really stopping me from doing what I want to them, like at the end of the day. And I'll respect the process, and I want to continue to build and get experience and make sure that when the moment comes that I'm ready to go. So, and I'll let my manager and, the UFC handle that as far as, who I'm fighting, but I know what I can do. And if you put me against any of those guys right now, I don't think it's going to be, too much fun for them.
Just based off your wrestling alone, how far can that take you? Obviously, you have to turn into a well-rounded fighter, striking, all that stuff. But just based off your extremely high-level wrestling alone, how far can you go with that?
I don't think there's a limit. I don't think there's like a ceiling, at this point. Nobody, especially at middleweight, it's not like I got a bunch of NCAA All-American wrestlers in there that are going to be able to stuff my takedowns. Like, what's a guy supposed to do? I've trained my whole life to take people down. Like, a guy that's never done that before, never felt anybody like me. How are they supposed to stop me? Like, they're going to train for 8 weeks and wrestle, and that's going to catch them up with where I'm at. Like, no, there's no like logical progression of how they're going to stop me from doing what I want to them. So, I think at the end of the day, like, if I want to do that to a guy, it doesn't matter who they are, I'll do it to them.
This is a bit of a silly question, but I feel like I have to ask it anyway because we're talking about this. How do you think you do against Israel Adesanya right now?
Oh, I would love that fight. That's like a dream matchup for me. I would be, obviously, with all due respect, he's one of the greatest middleweights of all time. Great champion. But I think people say this a lot, like, styles make fights. So with that being said, I feel confident in that matchup. I feel very good about it, and I would love to have that fight at some point in the future. That would be literally a dream for me.
And you say in the future, but right now you would take the fight. Right now you would be confident in that fight as a 2-0 fight.
I would be absolutely confident in that fight. Yeah, that's a fight to me. Again, like I said, styles make fights, and I would be extremely happy with that matchup right now.
It's so funny because I hear you saying this and I know that you believe this. And then I hear them on the broadcast being like, oh, he needs one more fight in the Contender Series. Like, what are we to come on, guys? What are we? This guy's talking about. I mean, if you just listen to one of your interviews.
Crazy world out there.
Yeah.
I just, it's so funny, like transitioning into MMA, because people say stuff that they really don't understand. Like, they don't understand what I do every day. They don't go back and watch the film, see what I'm capable of. They don't see me training every day. They don't see how I'm progressing. Like, they just go totally emotional based on the fact that they've never seen something like this before. And that's how they judge it. It's all emotion. It's all, thinking like this is impossible, this and that. Dude, like, you've never seen me work. I've been doing this since I was 6, literally 20 years of prepping for this. Like, and just because it's not on ESPN and you haven't seen me do it doesn't mean the work's not already there. It doesn't mean that my resume doesn't speak for itself. And so, I think that people get emotional about that because they've just never seen it and it just seems impossible to them. But to me, it's like, I'm ready for it.
Did you talk to Dana behind the scenes after the show, after your fight?
I chatted with him briefly. He was super positive. He said he was, obviously incredibly excited about the fight and how it went. He gave me a bottle of his whiskey, and which I didn't drink. I don't drink, but I thought that was a nice little token of appreciation. It was cool, and he said, and I said, I'm ready next week if you want me in there, so I can just stay out here in Vegas. But plan was for end of September, so we're in there end of September.
Did you know about the end of September fight before this fight?
So it wasn't obviously like booked or official or anything, but in my mind, that was kind of the plan, was to fight again in September, come out of there unscathed, and get right back into training and move forward with that. So, yeah.
And you're okay with that quick turnaround?
Like I said, I would be okay fighting tomorrow. So I haven't even been hit like in a real fight. I know, obviously in training and stuff. I know you asked me this, our very first interview. Can you take a punch? Have you been hit? Yes, I've been hit in training. I trained with a collegiate national champ in boxing with 70 amateur MMA, or excuse me, 70 amateur boxing matches. So yeah, I get punched. But yeah, so far I'm super healthy, so I'm ready for the quick turnaround. And yeah, September's the date.
And by the way, I reiterate, I wasn't asking that to offend you. It's because
I know. It's a legitimate question.
But also, like, that was the knock on Brock, that he didn't like to get hit. I didn't mean like, could you take a punch? It's just like the feeling of getting hit isn't something that you have to do as a wrestler, right? I know you're getting beat up, but it's not like a punch straight to the face.
I completely agree with you. And I think that a lot of wrestlers don't transition to MMA for that exact reason. Like, they're scared of that. And so I always tell people, like, if they're a wrestler and they want to get into MMA, I'm like, well, then go start training, like start fighting, see how you do, get experience in the practice room and see how you like it, because you can't just like go out there and do it. That's why I took 2 amateur fights, just because it is different. And so anybody that's like a wrestler that wants to do MMA, I'm like, all right, come train. We got a gym out here. Let's go. And, I think that obviously a lot of wrestlers would have a lot of success, but it's some people, it's just not for them.
I spoke to Malky, your manager, Malky Kawa of FRM, last week, and he said something that has stuck with me since. He said that you are going to be everything that John Jones was supposed to be. Now, obviously, he used to be John Jones's manager. He was by his side for the vast majority of his career, and John had an incredible career, one of the greatest of all time. When you heard that comment, because I think I tagged you in it, so I'm pretty sure you at least heard the quote or saw the quote, what did you think?
Yeah, that's to be even talked about in the same conversation in an MMA sense as John is, that's really makes me, I feel honored to be even talked about like that, by a guy who's obviously super close with both of us. I think that when he said that, it obviously wasn't anything against John's MMA accolades. I mean, he's done everything you can do. He's, has one disqualification loss, I guess. But aside from that, dominated so many amazing fighters. And, to me, probably is the number one pound for pound guy, the greatest of all time, if you look at his resume. And so to be talked about with a guy like that, first off, is, really cool. And I think that it's more in a sense of like John, and I've never had a conversation with John, but I think he would probably say this too. Like, he shot himself in his foot. Like, it wasn't like anybody else did it to him. And I know for me, like, I'm not going to do that. Like, he obviously had his trials that were, I would say, a lot more outside the cage versus inside the cage. And I think with me, I have just as high of a ceiling as far as what I can accomplish in MMA. I see myself being an undisputed champion, defending my belt many, many times with tons and tons of finishes and all different types of techniques, that just like him. And I just know that, for him, he had his troubles outside the cage, and I'm not gonna have those same troubles and issues just with how I live my life. So with that being said, I think that Malky was referring to me in a capacity where we have that same potential as far as what we can do. And, there's just a lot more opportunity for me with, I'm not going to be shooting myself in the foot and getting myself in trouble the way that he was. But career wise, as far as in the cage, I see us having, similar trajectories, similar careers.
Just a couple more things, and then I'll let you get back to your training. You keep mentioning, I notice, you want to be pound for pound king, number one, right? You mentioned that above anything else before becoming a UFC fighter, before a champion. Why is that so important to you?
I just think that's, that's the absolute pinnacle of the sport. And I wouldn't be anything I do. I'm here to reach the pinnacle. I'm here to do what there's only one guy that can do that. And at the end of the day, there is a lot of opinion in pound for pound, but I feel like it was the same thing for me when I got into college. My goal wasn't to be an NCAA champion. It was to be the Hodge Trophy winner and to be the absolute best guy in collegiate wrestling. And so that's just kind of my mindset. And when it comes to anything, is I want to do what nobody else can do, the hardest possible thing. And there's going to be opinions involved, but I look to make it so clear cut that I am the pound for pound number one fighter in the world, that every single person will agree with that. There might be maybe a guy's mom or something like that might say, "No, son, you're the number one," but everybody else will know for sure that it's me.
And so you fight on September 27th. All goes according to plan, minus 5,000, whatever it is. Do you think you'll get one more in this year? Do you feel like you'll be able to squeeze one in? Is that the goal? Is that the plan?
Yeah. I'm here to fight, so I want to fight as much as possible. I would like to fight again. I'm looking at December. There's a big card in December.
Yes.
And I love those big arenas, big environments. Actually, so I got my eye on that. But again,
I feel like you were about to say something. I feel like you already have that fight. You were about to say something right now, actually, and then you pivoted.
If I want it, I think that, what I'm saying is I need to take care of business 27th. I'm a professional, so I don't put the cart in front of the horse, and I'm going to take care of business. I'm going to smash this dude and get him out of there quick. I'm going to be unscathed again. And then if I want the fight in December, then hopefully we'll make it happen. And I feel like if I want that fight, then the UFC will do what we need to do to make it work.
I like the way you phrase that. If I want the fight in December, we'll make it happen. Bo Nickal's Contender Series, man, I like it. That's what's drawing people to you. You've got this confident, but like you're not a dick about it, but you're extremely. It's a weird. Sometimes people are confident, they're brash, but they come across the wrong way. You do it in such a mild mannered way that it's likable. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think I think that I'm not really stepping out of my lane too much when I say these things. And, some people step out of their lane and then they go so wild with it that it's not realistic. But I think everybody knows when I say these things, they're like, it doesn't matter how crazy it is. They're like in the back, even if they're the biggest hater on me, they're back of their head. They're thinking, damn, he might do that. Like, I don't know. But in the people that are, followers of me that love me, they're like, he's doing it for sure. So even, it doesn't matter if you like me or not, in the back of your head that what I'm saying, that even if you really don't want it to happen, it's a possibility. And so I think that's kind of where it comes from. And I think in addition to that, the way I live my life, like every single day, putting everything I have into this, that I back it up, not only with my performances, but with, my lifestyle choices each and every day, it's different than what you see in typical MMA out of a lot of MMA fighters. Like, I'm just not doing those things. Again, I'm a real professional. I'm a college graduate. I spent 5 years training with the #1 program, NCAA wrestling program ever. And so, I have all these life experiences that have brought me to this point. And I think people kind of, even if they don't know that already, like, they sense it.
Last question. By the time it's all said and done, who has the better MMA career, you or another guy who had a big week, collegiate wrestler transitioning to MMA, Pat Downey?
Oh man, I love Pat. I love Pat. He's the best. He's great. But if I could play it all out perfectly, I go 30-0 undefeated, all finishes in the UFC. He does the same thing in Bellator. So I'm rooting for all the wrestlers transition to fighters. I wish nothing but wins for Pat Downey. And I think that Bellator is a good place for him. UFC is a great place for me. So it all kind of adds up and makes sense.
All right. Good answer. Congrats on the big win, Bo. Thank you so much. Good luck September 27th. And just remember, we have your back over here. All right. They may not say it, they may not promote you, but we're fighting the good fight for you over here. All right.
I appreciate you, Ariel. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, Bo. All the best. There he is, Bo Nickal. Remember that name.